So this chapter here looks at, what do you call it? It's called number sense. A lot of it is kind of, do you get what's happening with numbers? Are numbers just kind of this weird thing you look at but don't really understand what they're doing? Or do you get like what number's bigger than which number and things like that? So for some of you it'll be a real easy chapter. For some of you maybe it'll be a little tougher chapter, but we'll kind of march our way through it. And if you get stuck, let me know. Be glad to help you. So for these, first thing I want to just throw down like the names of the places. So this one right here is the ones place. So ones, make my pen a little thicker, but O-N-E-S. And then the 2 would be in the tens. And then the 3 would be hundreds. And then the 4? Thousands. Now, a couple things happen as we're going the other direction. We do the 1, 2, 3 over on this side. One, you'll notice that these end with like just the word and then an S on the end. These are all going to have like a THS at the end. So instead of being like hundreds and thousands, it'll be like hundredths and thousandths. But I always thought it was a little weird that if you were to take, and I don't know if I'd mess up my notes with this, but I'm going to write up here like a 0.1. 0.1 is the same as 1 over what number as a fraction? Anybody do that? Go for it.
10.
Nice. 1 over 10. So when we have the number 0.1, do you agree you could read this as though it's 1/10?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when we just have one decimal place right here, it's not a 1th spot. It follows this whole pattern, but we start here with the tens. So the decimal point, we have the one that's going to be the tenths. Because 0.1 is 1/10. If you were to have the number 0.12, that'd be the same as 12 over, I can write it out here. So 0.12 is 12 over 100. So our second decimal point right there then is going to be the 100th spot. And really we just kind of copy these names and go up. So then the 3 is going to be the 1,000th spot. And after the thousandths, you'd have the 10,000ths and then 100,000ths and millionths and so on. Good? Cool. All right, so now that activity we were just doing, that explore thing, we had to compare like the 1A and the 1D, I think it was. If we have numbers that are after a decimal, you found that those were the same in that activity, but you could take and you could add zeros here is what I'm trying to say. So this example 1, we have 4.2. You could add a couple zeros after that. You could add tons of zeros after that if you wanted to. But as long as you're to the right of a decimal point, so the decimal point's here and you're to the right of it, you can add decimals at the end of a number. So I'm going to erase some of those extra ones. Maybe I have to erase all of them, but 2. Okay. So in comparing decimals, you can add zeros after a number to the right of a decimal without changing the number. But that only works to the right of a decimal. You can't do something like Mr. Falk owes me $5. You can't start adding like zeros after that. You're going to be like, oh, now Mr. Falk owes me $5 million, which you wouldn't be able to collect anyways. But, you can't add zeros to the left of a decimal point. That radically changes the number. But if it had been like 5 there, you could go and add zeros now, because either way I still just owe you $5. Okay, get rid of that example. So this first one, which number is bigger, 4.2 or 4.213? Go for it.
4.2.
But if we add the zeros, what number is bigger, 4.200 or 4.213?
4.13.
Yep. So this one here is larger. And you could look at those decimal points as though it's like the first one is saying 4 and 201,000ths, where that second one is 4 and 213 1,000ths. That 213 is a bigger amount. It's 213 of the 1,000 pieces instead of just 200 of the 1,000 pieces. Does that kind of work for people? I would at least write this here if I were you. If you think the fractions will help, then write it down. So, does that make sense, people? The next one, which one's bigger? 3.1246 or 3.124? Go for it. You can just holler out an answer. You don't need to raise your
The
hand.
first one.
First one.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6.
Yep, so nice. So this one's going to be larger. And for me, that helps if I were to go and add a 0 at the end of the other one. Then it just kind of makes sense to me that the other's going to be larger. Can I move on to example 3? Or questions on those two? Okay. So example 3, how do you say 5.4? Well, when we have the decimal, we use the word and. Nice. So you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah.
Go for it.
5 and 5 and 4.
Nice
No,
try.
10.
Nice. Tenths. Yep, 5 and 4 tenths, because that first decimal point right here is the tenth spot, that right there. So we're 5 and 4 tenths.
You're using the red number.
I tried making it darker, but it still does look pretty bad on the projector, doesn't it? So,
It's fine. It's all good.
so how do you say 3.14? Go for it, Marissa.
That would be 3 and 14 hundredths.
Nice. 3 and 14. Because we have 2 decimal places, that second spot was the hundredths place, so 3 and 14 hundredths. And that's all I have for section 1. Any questions?